Hello everybody, Yellow Mustang here again with another Roblox scripting tutorial. Today we're back working again on our marine AI here, and we have some issues with him. So as you can see, the first issue that's very obvious is the Muzzle Flash is way too bright, so we're going to have to go in there and reduce that. But over time, messing around with this marine, I have noticed other errors pop up. So today's video is basically going to be addressing all of those errors, and we're also going to be optimizing this guy to use less resources as he's moving around and attacking stuff. So let's go ahead and jump to the AI script here. First order of business is moving this clone variable to the top. You always want your clone variable at the top in case you make changes to anything. So just label this as well respawner. So always to reduce the chances of there any issues with your clone, just put it at the top before you make any changes to your object that you want to clone, or else those changes could be applied 2 times once you clone it. So that will work for that. So that should be good. Next here, we're going to fix is the network issues that this guy has. It's kind of hard to explain, so I'm just going to label this fix network resources or fix network issues. Yeah. So a lot of people have been complaining that when you load this guy onto a server and you try and like load into a game with this guy, he lags, or any of my other NPCs will lag. So this is going to be a fix for that. So we need base part here. So we're going to run through all the objects, and we're going to verify that it is a base part, and we're going to verify we can set the network ownership. Then continue. So if it is a base part and we can set the network ownership, then we will set network owner to nil. So why do we want to set the network owner to nil? What exactly does this mean? Well, when you think about this, this whole guy is being controlled by the server, and therefore it's so when you're looking at this guy, so first off, you need to understand that when Roblox sees unanchored parts moving around the workspace, it automatically assigns a player to render the physics for that part. So it takes strain away from the server, and then it puts it on the client to save, resources or whatever, so the game runs smoother. But that is good for inanimate objects like a building exploding or something like that, a bunch of parts flying everywhere. But we run into issues when we need to accurately know where each of those parts is because it's an NPC. So we never want one of the clients to be rendering where the NPC is, because the code heavily relies on the body parts positions in order to be accurate and provide like a smooth NPC experience. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this now. The marine is actually a bad example of this. You'll notice this occasionally on the marine, but I have a much better example. So I have a script here in the server script storage that basically copies your character when you load into the game, and then just has him randomly walk around every 3 seconds. And you can see in here before I had that network ownership nil applied to all of the body parts and all the hats and accessories and all of that, every base part that is applied to. So let's go ahead and start a local server and see what this looks like without that being set. Okay, so we load into the game here, and you can see it's got a clone of player 1, and you can see it's very stuttery as he's walking around trying to utilize the pathfinding service. This is because the script, the server-side script, doesn't know exactly where the body parts are. It has to wait for my client here to talk to the server to tell it where the parts are, because I'm rendering the physics for these unanchored parts that are moving around right now, not the server. So there's a huge delay right now because the server has to ask me where the parts are so it can run the script. And it is doing that very, very often. So it is making this guy lag very badly. So that is a very less than ideal situation. So if we go ahead and add this back in, we'll uncomment this out now. So we will set all of the parts to nil, and that way the server will calculate the graphics. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so we load in here. And now you see huge difference in the performance of this guy. There is no stutter whatsoever. The pathfinding service is working perfectly fine. That is because the server is now calculating all the physics for this guy, so it gets instant part updates for the script, so this guy will move around smoothly without issues. So that is why it is very important to set the network owner to nil for all of the body parts. So yeah, so that's that piece of the puzzle. Let's close out of that script. Moving on here. For the check site raycasting, we don't want to go off of our torso position. We want to go off of the barrel position. And this is just because we don't want our guys shooting the wall or anything. So the most important thing we're checking with the check site is that we can accurately shoot the target. But sometimes our torso has a clear line of sight, whereas our weapon does not. So this will ensure that we don't shoot the wall at all, ever. So that is a fairly simple fix. The next thing we're adding to this guy is pretty big. So let me show you guys one of my pet peeves about this guy right now. So if we put him up here on this ledge, right, and we have like some figures he can shoot at down here. Whoop-de-doo. Get over here. All right, so if we run this now, his arms look okay when he's aiming down, but his head, it looks awkward because his head is always facing straight. If you're actually shooting a gun looking down like that, obviously your head's going to be facing down so you can see what you're doing. I've messed around with the code for a while, and I've figured out a way to actually get that to work, to update his head along with the weapon. So let's go ahead and scroll down to the aim function. Make a new line. Let's see here. Okay, so this is all going to be based off of the character's neck position. So neck.co equals cframe.new 010. That is because that's our offset from the torso. And then cframe.new -1.5. That's in radians. And then math.rad aimer.orientation.x math.rad 15, because that's having his head tilted to the side there, looking down the sights that we had before. And then math.rad 180. And again, that's just getting the correct offset for his head. So in order to get his head to be looking perfectly straight, we needed a X rotation of -1.5 in radians. In order to have his head tilted, looking down the sights, we have 15 on the y-axis. And then to have his head actually facing forward, we need to flip it 180 degrees because it faces backwards for some reason. Why it does that, I'm not exactly sure, but I just messed around with the numbers until it worked. So we take the x-axis, which is looking up and down, and then we're just adding the aimer orientation. So as you can see, the orientation is just set off of wherever the target is, so it just aims that aimer part towards the target, and then we're just pulling the X rotation off of that so you can look up or down. So let's go ahead and run this and see if we're good. So that was very wrong. Why did that happen? Oh, I see. cframe.new. We need cframe.angles in there, not cframe.new, because we're adjusting the rotation. So go ahead and jump back into here. Okay, so now you can see his head follows his gun. And that looks much better than his head just being, you know, straight looking off into the damn sunset, you know, every single time. We still gotta add a knife attack to this guy so he does something when the targets are close to him, but that will come in another episode. But yeah, that improves the whole character by a lot, in my opinion. I just figured it out this morning and added it to him, so looks pretty good. Alright, so moving on here. Occasionally the arms would drift away, or the aimer piece would drift away because we're basing the C-frame off the aimer position. So if the position ever gets messed up for some reason, it's never going to fix itself. It's just going to keep drifting further and further away until he puts away the weapon or something gets reset, which looks kind of weird because his whole arms and the weapon will go floating away with it. So I just decided to base this off of the torso C-frame instead. So if we go ahead and delete this. So we're going to do mytorso.cframe times cframe.new 0.50. So that's our offset away from the torso. It's just half a stud up from the torso, and then .p, which will get our torso position. So that way the aimer will always be locked into the torso at this offset, and that way we don't have to worry about the arms ever drifting away again. Let's just go ahead and verify this, that our arms still work. Okay, so you can see the aimer still does its thing perfectly fine. So that's all fine and dandy. The next thing on our list here is to have M4 utilize reset head. So we made a reset head function to make the head appear straight again. So let's see here. Yield M4. Reset head. Okay. Cool. So I guess we already did that. Yeah, so that's good. All right. Oh, forget about that. Next, we're going to make the muzzle flash less excessive. Well, actually, while we're here, we can actually make this into a tween now instead of that. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll do game get service, tween service, create, and then we're tweening the neck motor 6D, and then we're going to do tween info.new. It'll be at 0.2 seconds to complete the tween, and then the goals will be C0 equals cframe.new 010 for the offset away from the torso, and then times cframe.angles. And then in here, we're doing mat.rad -90 0, and then mat.rad 180. So that will bring the head perfectly straight forward. And then we can go ahead and play this tween. So that should be good. So that way we get a nice smooth kind of look to the head once he's done. Once he's done shooting at the figures. Yeah, so there you go. You see his head tweened back into position. It's a small detail, but you will notice it over time. So we can delete this comment now because that works out fine. Continuing on here, let's go ahead and fix that muzzle brightness now. We will go from 100 to 3. I don't know why I went for 100 with that. I just figured muzzle flashes are very bright. I guess, but that's way too bright. So now you can see... It's you can still see it, but it's not like a God's beam from heaven, like beaming down upon a Marine. So that is good. Continuing on here, back into AI. We're going to now optimize the bullet spawning. So continuing on here, let's see. Where's the damn shoot function at? Okay, so here. So somebody in my comments section told me that spawning parts in the workspace using a single line of code like this is horrible, because essentially it renders the part 2 times, because you set the parent here and then you change all the properties and then it has to re-render the whole thing for the game. So you should just create the bullet there, set all the properties, and then let's see here. And then down here, before we do fire sound, we can set the parent to be workspace. Set the parent to workspace, and that way it doesn't have to render the bullet 2 times, it just renders it 1 time. So that will save us a bunch of resources over time, because he creates so many bullets. So that'll be good for the server, good for us, and good for you. Next thing we're going to do is update the died event. So yeah, so updating the died event. So with the Marine, I didn't like the look of him like breaking apart into pieces. I liked the ragdoll look a lot better. So I achieved that by, if we go into the torso now, I've added a bunch of, what are these called? Ball socket constraints for each of his joints. And then they're all connected to these alarm attach or whatever. So all of these are disabled right now. So when he dies, we'll go ahead and enable these ball socket constraints, and that way his body will stay together, but it'll be loose like a ragdoll. So let's go ahead and jump into the script here. We'll go into died, and let's get to work. So in died, we're just going to scrap everything because I hate it. So let's do for iv in ipairs, script.parent, get descendants, Jesus Christ, descendants, do. If v is a ball socket constraint, then v.enabled equals true. Else if v is a base part, and v.name is not equal to humanoid root part, and v is not equal to aimer, then we will do v command collide equals false. We want to do else if v is a motor 6D, then v destroy. Okay, so we enable all the ball socket constraints after we die. We set everything can collide equals false, so the ragdoll looks good. It won't fall through the earth because the humanoid is still inside, so it doesn't let it fall. And also we still have the humanoid root part as can collide equals true, so that way it doesn't fall through the planet. And then if v is a motor 6D, then v destroys, so we want to make sure that he can utilize the ball socket constraints, so we destroy the motor 6Ds. We keep all the weld constraints, so the helmet and the flick stays on the Marine. So that's all there is to the ragdoll, I think. So let's go ahead and jump into the workspace and verify that this works. So we'll go into Marine, set the health to 0. And there you go. Perfect ragdoll. And actually, that's another bug I need to fix, is making it so he can't shoot after he dies. So let's go ahead and jump back into AI. In while wait do, we're going to do if my human.health is greater than 0, then main. If it is less than 0, then break. Okay, so that way our guy won't keep shooting after we've died. Yeah, so anyways, continuing on with died, you can see the ragdoll looks decent. We'll just give it a 5-second respawn time, same as before, and then we will do 4 iv in ipairs, script.parent, get descendants, do. If v is a base part, or V is a decal. Then continue. And then we're going to go ahead and create tweens for all of these guys. So we're going to do game, get service, tween service, create for V, and then tweeninfo.new. We can do like, I don't know, 0.2 seconds. So we're going to have all the body parts fade away. That's the point of the tween. So then we'll do as the goal, transparency equals 1. And then we can just go ahead and play, I think. I'm going a little off script here. I'm just going to go ahead and try that instead of what I had before, because I think that'll work better. Then we can just add a weight in here, 0.2. Yeah, weight 0.2. Clone.parent equals workspace. And then script.parent destroy. Okay, so that respawn should look okay. So let's go ahead and run this. Alright, so it looks like that main function's working fine. Let's go into humanoid. Set the health to 0. Okay, so you can see he stops shooting after he dies and he ragdolled. And you can see he quickly fades away instead of just instantly disappearing. So let's see that one more time here. Health to 0. And then, boom, body fades away. And that way we get a bit of a more clean respawn look to him. Let's see. Next thing we're going to do here is add sounds. So when the guy actually does take damage, then we're going to have him like make a hurt sound. So I believe at the top we did declare the hurt sound. Yeah, so we declared the hurt sound in the last episode, but we never used it because the episode was running so long. So let's see here. Down here under died, we'll just do local old health equals myhuman.health. And then we'll use the myhuman.health changed connect function health. Okay, and then if health is less than old health, and hurt sound dot playing is equal to false, is playing is equal to false, then continue, then hurt sound play. And then down here we'll just do old health equals health. Okay, so this is a health changed event. So whenever our health goes up or down, then this will fire with what our health currently is after the health change. So we want to make sure this only fires if our health is going down. So only if our health is lower than our previous health, then are we taking damage? Because obviously if health is above old health, then we gained health for some reason. So we don't need to play this. Hurt sound is playing equals false. So we want to make sure that we don't like spam this sound too many times. So we'll just make sure the sound actually completes before we try to play it again. And then we go ahead and just play the sound, and then we update old health to reflect what our current health is. So that will all work nicely together. So let's go ahead and jump into the workspace here. I don't know if I can. Maybe I can change his health and it'll update. I'm not sure. So we'll update it to 50. There we go. 49. So you can see every time he takes damage, he plays the sound. If we make it 100, he is fine. He doesn't care. Take down to 90. And there we go. Takes lots of damage. And then we can go ahead and kill him. And boom. Ragdoll, dead. And fade away, and good to go. Okay, so that just about wraps up our video for today. We can put 2 of these guys in here, and we can actually make them fight as well if we make them a different name. So we'll end off with a little bit of a scrimmage here, I guess. And obviously, Marine 2 is way better than Marine 1. And then I'll just go back and forth with that shit. So, I would like to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this. Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this. Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this. Oh, fuck.